Hello and welcome, folks. I'm Joe Monday with our Street Fighter here to talk about the Street Fighter V community feedback thread. Now, if you don't know what that is, our Street Fighter is a sub of over 51,000 people, and what we did was take all of your comments and concerns about Street Fighter V from way back in 2016, start 2016, all the way up until today, when we had a round of voting at the start of this month, and it's just ended. So I'm going to go over those results here in a moment. So without further ado, let's kind of get into it. So as you can see here, this was the thread of proposed changes to Street Fighter V. Quite a long list here. Things have been fixed since the start. Some things have remained on this list. Overall, 174 comments total, and all of those comments were then rounded up and put into different polls, 3 different polls. So we're going to get into the first one here is user experience. Now, as you can see, right at the top of the list, netcode at number 1. The online, this just stands for the basic online experience. It's not as fluid as many other fighting games. The matchmaking to connection issues to rollback. The overall online experience leaves a lot to be desired. So that was voted way up at the top by a pretty big margin there at 31%. Now, right below that, kind of tied to it, is one-sided rollback. This is something that the game doesn't really equalize the rollback frames between the players. Instead, it seems like one player might take the brunt of the lag in most games. That seems to be something that a lot of people voted high on their priorities list. Now, right below that, you'll see input delay, which is something that was addressed. The meme was always it's 8 frames of lag, but that was fixed a while back. And now recent testing shows that it's down to somewhere around 5.3 to 6.5 frames at worst. So it is a little bit better than originally, but still that is a major complaint that people voted pretty high up on this list. Right below that, you can see loading times. Load times are sometimes arbitrarily too long in this game. The game actually is not loading, but just showing animations and transitions. This problem has been fixed by some modders in the PC community, but for PS4 players, they don't have that luxury. Now below that, you can see Player 2 Rematch. Thumbs up to this one, folks, because Player 2 has no ability to decide if the match goes back to character select or right back into the match. Something that people have been wanting since the start of the game, but still remains at number 5 on this list. Now, going down number 6, Fight Money grind. Fight Money is a little too hard to come by to purchase the available characters, stages, or costumes without excessive grind. Slow matchmaking and the load times, as said earlier, kind of exacerbate this problem. It makes it a little bit hard to be on that grind if it's going to take so much time. Right below that is training mode, online training. This was something that was available in the last version of Ultra Street Fighter 4, where you and a friend could go into training mode. It would allow you to have all of the same options available to you if you were just in your regular training mode, but allow you to do so with a friend online. This is great for training friends, testing things out, just a way to connect players, and allows you to test things out that you might not otherwise be able to test so easily. And right below that, again in training mode, allow DLC character testing. This basically means allowing you, the player, to select characters you haven't bought yet, but only in training mode. This would give you an idea of how they play, if you would want to buy them. It gives you an idea if you want to buy them. Maybe there's a testing period of here's how long you can use a character before you decide that you want to buy them. Because again, that fight money is important if that grind's going to take you so long. Right below that, at number 9, is Battle Lounge region filter. And in the Battle Lounge, currently there is no way to filter out people who play in different regions than you. So if you are in one part of the world and see a flag from another part of the world, you might not want to match up with them because the connection might not be so good. Now below that, at number 10, Battle Lounge, accurate ping or connection. The 5-bar connection indicator, as it currently stands, is not really enough to give you the information that you need to decide if that connection might be good enough to play. Ping could indicate how much input delay could be expected. Not necessarily sure how all of the systems work with Street Fighter V's netcode, but still, that would definitely give a much more accurate description than just the simple 5 bars. All right, below that, ranked matchmaking character select. This is talking about how it is in Street Fighter V, if you don't know, is that you have to decide what character you are going to take into ranked matchmaking before it even happens. What this proposes is once you are matched up with your opponent, then go to character select. Maybe even available in Rematch. Don't know what extent that's possible, but still, it's something that people would rather do instead of the current build of Street Fighter V. All right, below that, in number 12 is training mode. Remove the versus screen when entering training mode. This kind of harkens back to the load times. This allows training mode this could allow, I should say, the training room to load faster as soon as it's ready, versus the animations that are redundant, or if you're already in a ranked match and going back to training, if you're just going back to training mode, it could just save you some time. All right, below that, number 13, player-to-player in-game communication. Kind of a big deal that right now in Street Fighter V, there's currently no way to send a message to a player that you've met online. There's all communication that is taking place in this game is done by some other third party. A lot of that happens on Discord. That's kind of one of the current most popular game communication tools right now, but still, even in game, if you match up against someone in ranked and maybe you want to send them a message, send them a friend request maybe, or just say, hey, good games, it's not possible in Street Fighter V. All right, below that, number 14 is key bindings. Configurable keyboard key bindings. It should also be available in the options and before versus match, just like the controllers. That was something that was brought up way back at the start of this that has stayed on this list since the beginning. All right, below that, there's, again, character preview or tutorials prior to purchase. Maybe this doesn't go as far to allowing you to play the character in training mode, but maybe it shows you what their tutorials are, those video tutorials in this game. Maybe you can watch those before buying them, or maybe it allows you to do their trials beforehand, just to give you that little bit of an idea of how they play before you make that purchase. Right below that, at number 16, is the hitbox viewer. This would just make it easier to train. It would allow you to practice more efficiently if you could see all those hitboxes. I think also in this in the comments section, it was also tied that maybe you could also view frame data, hitbox and frame data. It just allows you to practice more efficiently, really. Right below that, you can see Battle Lounge Steam integration. This really only affects the PC gamers who are playing Street Fighter V on Steam. This could be a workaround to how there's no player-to-player communication on the CFN, but still, it is something that people voted that they want. And right below that, at 18, is Battle Lounge rank filter, because currently, in the current build of Street Fighter V, there's no way to filter out battle lounges by rank. If you are just looking for silver players, or if you're looking for platinums and above, there's no way to filter out that search. And right below that is ranked matchmaking, unlimited rematch. Currently in Street Fighter V, there's no way to. It's only best of 3. You're limited to best of 3. You can rematch the player, but again, you only get that best of 3. What players are suggesting is that let that go until one player decides they don't want to lose any more points. That just allows people to play more matches, really. All right, down below there is number 20 is, again, ranked matchmaking, no wait indicator. Currently in Street Fighter V, there's no indication of how long the wait might be in between matches. There's no indication of how many players are online at the time. Really, it just comes out of nowhere of when you are matched up with your opponent. Down below that, kind of a strange one, is that in training mode, debug. Now what this means is there's a couple different weird things that happen in training mode. One in particular is where if you set your the dummy to wake up with a reversal jab, for instance, You say, dummy, wake up, reversal jab, and then you knock your opponent down with a throw. They won't wake up with the jab. This is tested and proven, and a bunch of people have talked about it, shown a couple of different times, but hey, it's just something that will probably likely come in a patch, maybe some random Tuesday that, hey, it ends up, this works now. But that is something that people want fixed in Street Fighter V. Right down below that at number 22 is frame rate ratings and testing. Now, what this means, this was actually something that happened in the PC version of Ultra Street Fighter 4. It would test your PC's capability and show you what your ranking was in terms of, you know, how good is your PC, how good does your PC run this game. That's especially important in Street Fighter V, where the rollback is tied to the frame rate in some instances. So if your PC isn't necessarily as powerful, if you got that F rank on your PC perhaps, that could be another indication to players that maybe they'll get a lot of rollback when they play you. It's just something else that would be a nice addition to Street Fighter V. Now below that, it's number 23. Friends list management and lobby invite system. Currently, there is no way to join a friends lobby who already has a lobby unless they send you an invite. It's a little bit unwieldy too, the friends list. It can just be a hard thing to work around when there's been, you know, if you look at Steam integration, you know, you add all those things into it. It could be a little bit better of a system. Now, down to number 24, the last one is replay management. Some people were complaining that when you do save replays or looking through your own replays, you can't just go in and watch the replay. You have to go in, save the replay, go out to another menu. It could be tidied up a little bit, let's say. All right, and that does it for the user interface poll, but there were two other ones, so let's keep this moving. The next poll was the gameplay poll. A little bit less options here, but still. Again, you see right at the top, input delay, 30% in terms of gameplay, what people want changed. Again, I will mention, it's no longer 8 frames. It's only like that 5.3 to 6.5 range. But still, the way that Street Fighter V is currently played, a lot of people want tighter inputs. They want to press that button and get that reaction. Below that, at number 2, a close number 2, is more defensive options. What this means could be new ways to use your V meter. It could mean true invincible reversals without meter. This could mean a number of things. Hard to say exactly how you would want to go about changing that, but still, people want new ways to escape pressure. And number 3, expanding on the V system. Again, this could be other ways to use V-meter, be it offensively or defensively, who knows. People also suggested maybe having multiple V-triggers or multiple V-skills, because in the current build of Street Fighter V, there are some V-triggers or some V-skills that just aren't as useful as some other characters. Balrog or Laura, for example, can deal major damage in V-trigger, while other characters such as Fong really only use it as a combo extender. Just a little bit more balance in that terms. All right, now at number 4, the balance of the risk and reward of jumping in versus being anti-aired. In this game, in Street Fighter V, the reward for jumping in could be huge. One combo into a reset could lead to stun, could be the end of the round very quickly for a lot of characters. So the risk of jumping in, the reward of jumping in, I should say, is very great. Versus the risk of being anti-aired is that there aren't really that many big damaging responses to anti-air. Like you could maybe get that anti-air jab, but really that's only like 40 to 20 damage. That's not a whole lot of damage. That's not a whole lot of punishment for your opponent for jumping in, versus the reward that they could potentially get, which is the end of the round. 20 damage versus the end of the round. It's not a very big risk reward. So people want that to be a little bit softened. Below that, you can see at number 5, hurt boxes remain extended for whiff punishing. A bit of a controversial one, but really what this means is not that moves have longer recovery. That's not necessarily what this means, but more so that once they hit that normal, that the hurt box stays out further during recovery. You'll see some normals where they throw it out. They throw out the normal, the hitbox becomes active, and then as soon as that hitbox is no longer active, the hurt box starts to shrink. It goes far away, which makes poking with like your medium attacks a lot riskier, because you're more likely to whiff in some cases if the hurt box retracts. That's just one possible solution to the problem of footsies in Street Fighter V. Now, moving on down the list is number 6, improve the crush counter system. Now, this could mean a number of things. It could be a balance to the system. There's some characters who gain huge amounts of damage off of a crush counter, even just in the neutral. It could be the way that they interact. Urian, for example, not a whole lot of risk of throwing out that stand hard punch in the neutral, but if he hits you with it, you're going to go for a rod. You're going to eat a lot of damage. Whereas some characters, crush counter, stand hard kick from Chun might not deal a whole lot of damage if you can't cancel into V-trigger or doesn't have any meter. So the risk reward there for some characters is really off balance. All right, number 7, revert the DP nerf. This basically means that people wanted the DPs like they were at the start of the game. If you're not familiar with that whole track, DP, like for example, Ryu's medium punch DP was fully invincible, but now they took that all away. They said no more invincibility. People complained, and they said, okay, we'll give it a little bit of invincibility. It's only invincible versus jump-in attacks or airborne attacks, but it doesn't have invincibility against grounded attacks. So you can still meaty a Ryu without meter, without fear of eating a wake-up Shoryuken, or even just in the neutral, if you throw out a poke. He can't really hit you with that Ume Shoryu because he doesn't have invincibility up until the hitbox comes out. All right, down to number 8. Bonus damage for perfect links. This was actually something that Daigo suggested, not in the thread, but something that he has said out loud and then was repeated in the thread. So in Street Fighter V, there is a 3-frame input buffer. So even 1-frame links are technically 3-frame links because you can hit that button 3 frames early. Now, what this suggests is if you hit that button for your link with perfect timing to actually get that 1-frame link, if you hit it on that last possible frame, then maybe you get a little extra bonus damage because as it currently stands, there's no real reward for having good execution in Street Fighter V because most combos are readily available to any player, even with bad execution. All right, number 9, a priority system changes. Again, this kind of harkens back to crush counters in the neutral. Now, what this really refers to is people are sometimes a little bit concerned with the way that things work in Street Fighter V, where, for example, if a heavy attack, if that hitbox comes into interaction with the hitbox of a medium attack on the exact same frame, then always the heavy attack will win. This has no real... I mean, it kind of has an interaction with, where is the normal at the time. But the priority system is a little bit skewed to favor heavier buttons. So poking with lights is a lot more dangerous in Street Fighter V in the off chance that your opponent's fishing for crush counters. Now, number 10. This is actually something that's really important to blind players, but the change in the audio cue for non-crush counter hits. For those of you who don't know, in Street Fighter V, there is no audio difference from a regular hit versus a regular counter hit. For example, if Ryu hits you with a standing medium punch, it sounds exactly the same as a counter hit medium punch. To you or I, you can just see the counter hit pop in the corner. But for blind players, they might not be able to tell whether they've landed the counter hit or not, which could mean the difference of combo potential or damage potential that they're just not aware of because there's no audio cue. All right, now down to number 11. fix the air-to-air recovery advantage. Oftentimes in Street Fighter V, if you go for an air-to-air, your opponent will land before you and either give them the opportunity to punish, or at the very least, give them the advantage on recovery. It just seems a little bit skewed that even though you anti-aired them with an air-to-air, to give your opponent the advantage in that way. Especially true for characters who don't necessarily have great anti-air options on the ground. Vega, for example. All right, that does it for the gameplay polls. Let's move on to the last one, which is the miscellaneous poll. A whole bunch of things thrown in here that didn't really fit in the other categories, but let's go over the miscellaneous poll. And number 1, the clear winner here was Capcom Communication with the community. Street Fighter V was sold as a service, not really as a one-time product like Capcom was really used to. And there's been very little interaction between Capcom and the people trying to use this service. There are numerous examples of this, of them not meeting dates and then ghosting for entire months at a time. This list could go on and on of chances where Capcom had the opportunity to maybe say something or speak something to the community as to why things are a certain way, but we've just been left in the dark. And that was clearly the number one thing that people want changed surrounding Street Fighter V, is just having Capcom say, hey, we hear you. All right, now down to number 2. Number 2 concern that people wanted was an arcade mode. This was something that has been in every Street Fighter game in the franchise up until this point. Even at the launch of Street Fighter V, even today, Street Fighter V just has no arcade mode. It was something that people were clamoring for because they want that extra content. Maybe they don't want to go online, or maybe they just want to have that nostalgic feeling of going back to the arcade. But regardless, that comes in at number 2. All right, number 3 is a graphical improvement on certain models. There are a couple of culprits here. Ken's face, or Ibuki's face in some cases, where she will pull down the mask and doesn't have the mask. She's got those shark teeth. It's a whole thing. Also, there are other instances of this with long hair, for example, Armika's hair, or scarves that are clipping, or capes, things like that just kind of look a little off. But really, I think the main culprit here would be Ken's face. Ken's face. All right, number 4. Lab Zero drivers to get rid of the need for DS4. This would reduce the need of converters, which would then reduce the input lag for some people. Some people use natural converter. This would make things easier for tournaments. It would just overall be a quality of life change for the game. Number 5, router support. This was something that showed up in the original feedback thread last year, that's kind of stuck around because for those of you who don't know, currently there are many routing problems with this game that only affect certain routers more than others, and just to get that all kind of ironed over would be a great improvement for Street Fighter V. And coming in at number 6 is the Linux version. This is really only on the list because it was promised at launch, and there has been I don't believe there's been any mention of the Linux version since prior to launch. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think, again, going back to number 1, there hasn't been any communication on this particular topic. All right, well, that just about wraps everything up for the community feedback polls. Again, this was information collected over a long period of time, but really only voted on in just the last month. So this is all up to date and current. Again, I'm Joe Monday with our Street Fighter, and you guys take care. Till next time.